Bonjour, welcome to Le Mans, a wonderful place. Have fun with the race.
Yes, indeed, how appropriate. We were welcomed to the penultimate round of the DTM by the 7 times Le Mans 24-hour winner, Tom Kristensen. Yes, we are at the start, we are at Le Mans, but for this new race on the DTM calendar, we're on the Bugatti Circuit. There it is below us, just a fraction of the magnificent circuit used for the 24 hours. But of course, some of the sections are the same, including the massive grandstands. Here we are at the entrance to the circuit, the DTM coming here for the first time, as I said. Well, David Allison joins me. It is a magnificent town, David. It is a great circuit.
And it just oozes character, doesn't it? It doesn't matter where you are in Le Mans, you know you are near a race circuit, and one of the most famous in the world as well. And of course here, motor racing embraced by just about everybody. You don't have anywhere near the same number of problems with the local residents as you do in other places. The famous Le Mans Legends Cafe, for example, is somewhere that you have to pay a visit to when you're at Le Mans. The Armco there just separating it from the road, and this is the paddock. It's always very busy for the 24 hours, and it's come alive once again this weekend because DTM is in town.
Yes, indeed, David, and the Bugatti Circuit itself, the shorter version, was opened in 1965, and 2 years later it was the home of the French Grand Prix. Cars being pushed back into the huge garages. Indeed, the DTM has been to France twice in the past. They have raced at Magny-Cours back in 1995 and 1996. But very few of the drivers who are racing here today know this track, but appropriately one who does is Tom Kristensen. He raced and won in the Le Mans 1,000 kilometres race here back in 2003. And indeed it is Tom Kristensen in the Simons Audi A4 who's going to give us a lap of this circuit. We join him now as he passes the pits.
Hello, I'm Tom Kristensen. Welcome on board my Audi A4 DTM. In 6th gear, up the long straight, around 270. At the first kink, flat out, hard on the brakes, down to 3rd. At the chicane, keeping 3rd, using plenty of curb. Under the Dunlop Bridge, up in 4th, up in 5th, back to 3rd at La Chapelle. It's downhill. It's a very nice corner, off camber, getting more camber as you get through it, using all the road on the exit. Up to 4th, back into 3rd, then 2nd, just trying to keep a tighter line and using all the flow coming out at Le Mans corner. Up to 5th gear, down to the double Garage Vert. 3rd in, then 2nd. Very difficult corner, trying to keep the rear traction. Back up through the whole gearbox on the back straight. Need plenty of acceleration. It's a bit bumpy, that's why I stay left. Up in 6th gear, back in 3rd, into the chicane. The S's, using the curbs. I was pretty clean this lap. Normally you can maybe take a bit more curb out of it. Into Garage Bleu. It's a bit of camber. When you stay tight, it's giving good grip. Up through the last couple of bends, 3rd gear, using all the road there and a little bit more. Into the doubled, last 2 double corners, 2nd gear. All the curbs, just the rear is just fishtailing behind you. Up through the gears and the wonderful tribunes at Le Mans. That was 1 lap. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was a fun lap with Tom Kristensen, but let's check out the qualifying now. Very important. Bernd Schneider there, David, the man who could go home with yet another DTM championship at the end of this race meeting.
But he didn't really look that confident in qualifying. He was a bit nervous, I think, was Bernd Schneider. He only ended up 9th quickest, and this was the man in fine form, Bruno Spengler, who's had a pretty good season in DTM, scoring already this year 2 wins, and he was the man who was fastest at the very end of qualifying.
Yes, David, fastest, chasing a time set by Tom Kristensen, and indeed Spengler did it, his 2nd pole position of the season, a lap time of 1:30.486.
and that means it's 6 pole positions for Mercedes this year and 92 for Mercedes in the history of DTM. And Bruno Spengler absolutely delighted that he was at the top of the times.
I'm really happy of this qualifying today, my second pole position this year. My team have done really a great job. The car was really great to drive in the qualifying. I gave really everything. I pushed so hard in the last lap in my in the last qualifying lap, and this was the pole position lap. I was really happy.
Yes, Tom Christensen, the only man that really has a chance of beating Bernd Schneider to the title, lying some 18 points behind him. Very quick in qualifying indeed. And here he is on a fast lap. We saw a quick lap from the onboard camera. Here he is completing his lap with a time of 1:30.583. Christensen using all the curves there, as you can see. In fact, taking a shortcut.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprised to see that in the beginning Schneider was very fast, but when it counted in the third qualifying, he wasn't. So yeah, it's of course it's pretty pleased that he is where he is, and but I have a lot to do with Bruno Spengler and a lot of other Mercs around me. So I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting race.
And third fastest, Mika Häkkinen. He's still a real favourite with the crowd, and Mika making a welcome return to France, and it's good to see him at Le Mans, and it's good to see Mika Häkkinen going so well. Now, this year, of course, has been without a win so far. He aims to put that right at Le Mans this weekend, and significantly, this is another Mercedes up at the sharp end of the grid in order to try to help Bernd Schneider take the title. So Mika Häkkinen third, his best qualifying performance for quite some time.
So it's a very, very challenging circuit, very technical. So summarizing the qualifying, it was a very tough and same time disappointing finish in third. I suppose I wish I would have opportunity to run a little bit more new tires in the end, so then I could have banked a better time to get the pole position maybe.
And there is the top 10 with Matthias Ekstrom, former champion, down 10th, just one spot ahead of Bernd Schneider. Martin Tomczyk, a winner this year, 8th. And you saw the top leading positions there. But now here's a face you may not recognise. It says it on the side of the helmet. Ted Bjork, the Swedish touring car champion, and he was replacing Nicholas Kieser, who had broken his leg in a motocross accident. So yet another driver in that car, which is run by the Midland Formula One team. David, we've been lucky at Le Mans to eat the Audi hospitality, but here at the DTM they had a very special star chef, Thierry Tesselin, who had been flown in from Saint-Tropez to serve up a fantastic meal. And indeed the drivers very much in the thick of things.
Yes, Tom Christensen and Matthias Ekstrom both with a taste for success, also acting as star chefs themselves over the weekend, and then Tom doubling up as a waiter.
But he doesn't do that very often. But everyone focusing on the race to come, and we can check out the grid. Drivers there being paraded as they are at every DTM race. DTM, of course, being a very fan-friendly series indeed. Susie Stoddart there. There's Ted Bjork, the newcomer. And a full grandstand, some 34,000 people attending this race. And there is John Alesi, obviously a big star here in France. But David, we hear at the end of this season, he may hang up the helmet.
Which would be a big shame. Jean Alesi has been a real hero in DTM. He's had some victories. This hasn't been his most successful of years. Well, let's see what he can do on home soil. 39 laps we have to look forward to around the Bugatti Circuit at Le Mans. There is Bernd Schneider being wished well by the Audi management. You saw as well there Hans-Jürgen Abt wishing him well en route to what could be yet another DTM crown this weekend. But Bernd Schneider, he's going to have to work pretty hard for it, starting 9th on the grid. There's the pole sitter, double winner, Bruno Spengler. Of course, Bernd Schneider won those first 2 rounds of the championship. Tom Christensen is still mathematically able to take the title away. Well, we've said it in previous seasons. When Schneider wins the first race of the year, he wins the title. It could well happen again this year. Row 1 of the grid is Bruno Spengler, Tom Christensen alongside him. It's Mercedes and Audi on row 1, Andrew.
Yes, indeed, but an all-Mercedes row 2 with Mika Häkkinen and Jamie Green, the British driver.
Christian Abt on the outside of the 3rd row, qualifying 5th quickest, good for him. And Alex Margaritas up at the sharp end of the grid as well.
Also at the sharp end of the grid, Pierre Kaffer in the Castrol Audi and Martin Tomczyk.
Then we have Ben Schneider. He will start 9th and 10th. Another former champion, Matthias Ekström.
Then it's Timo Scheider and Frank Stippler, both in Audis.
Daniel La Rosa for Mercedes, out-qualifying Heinz-Harald Frentzen, disappointing, only 14th for Audi.
Stefan Mucker and that newcomer Ted Bjork, good qualifying by him.
Which puts him ahead of Jean Alesi and Susie Stoddart.
And bringing up the rear, Matthias Lauda and Vanina Ricks.
That's the grid for the penultimate round of DTM for 2006. The lights are red. When the lights go out, we're going to be in business now. Who makes the best start? Spengler makes an absolutely superb getaway as you ride with Ben Schneider.
Yeah, good start from Schneider. He's got a lot of work to do. Needs to get right up near the front end of this. But good start by Jamie Green as well.
He goes second, Häkkinen third, and Tom Christensen down to fourth, and in fact he could be down to fifth in a moment, because Alex Margaritas with his Mercedes looking for a way through. Margaritas falls wide. Oh, that is Ben Schneider, look, being forced towards the gravel, and Schneider's going to lose places as a result of that. There's two off already, Andrew, look at that.
Yeah, they've got to watch out for the gravel. It's very sharp, that gravel, and coming back on the Red Bull car of Ekström, colliding with Stippler, and it's chaos out here. And this could bring the safety car out.
Matthias Lauda got caught up in all of that as well. It wasn't just the gravel they had to look out for, it was cars coming past them when they rejoined the road. And Matthias Lauda's race has run a lot of damage to Frank Stippler's car. Look at that. Lauda's okay, but he's livid. And as you say, this undoubtedly will bring out the safety car now. So the race leader is Bruno Spengler, Jamie Green second, Mika Häkkinen third, and where's Ben Schneider in all of that? He is, I think I'm right in saying, down in 16th place, having run out of road at the Dunlop chicane.
Well, Schneider really having his chances hurt here. The only good thing for him is the fact that Christensen is not right at the very front.
Well, there's Frank Stippler and Matthias Ekström involved, and Matthias Lauda's car also you can see with a lot of damage. The marshals there attending to the drivers. And it was a pretty big impact because everybody accelerating at that part of the circuit. End of lap one there, they're going to be behind the safety car now. There are the SC boards, the yellow flags being waved. And a wheel that's been ripped off one of the cars there being removed from harm's way by the marshals. Well, Audi leads, even if it's only via the safety car. Bruno Spengler then is the man in position number one, ahead of Jamie Green, ahead of Mika Häkkinen. And there, walking away, is Frank Stippler, a little bit sore, a little bit shaky. Now, let's try and work out exactly how it all started. There you can see, look, Stippler and Ekström both off the road. They're on the inside of the circuit. Their trajectory will bring them back onto the circuit, and then they get caught up with Matthias Lauda. A big impact there. Cars go off the circuit, and that's why we have safety car.
I feel good, I should say. Many thanks to the guys who did the construction of the car. It was more or less safe, I think. And, well, it happened like a typical race accident happens. I think Pierre and Eki hit each other, and Eki hit me then, and then we went into the gravel, and because it went very downhill there, and the gravel and the grass was pretty wet still. We had no brake shots, and downstairs I hit Matthias Lauda very hard.
We can see the incident again. There they go. Stippler is the car on the grass first, no retardation there, and actually just out of picture, Stippler has that huge impact with Matthias Lauda, so chaos.
I was in the middle of the field, and through the first corners it's always very tight when you're starting in the middle of the field, and that was also the case now, and I was touching a little bit with some cars, but I had no big accident, and then exiting the first corner down to the corner number 2 under the bridge, I got a hit from behind and I broke the rear right suspension, and then I went over the grass and was very lucky to not hit anyone when I came back on the track.
And from another angle, there you can see Stippler and Lauda, and going off in avoidance is Ben Schneider, I reckon that was. I was going to suggest there was another car involved, and that's why Schneider's lost even more places, because he had to take evasive action, and he's very lucky to have got away with that, Andrew.
Yes, indeed, and Schneider can see the chance of clinching that championship really slipping away after these incidents. Spengler currently in the lead, as we're going to go racing again in just a moment. Jamie Green second, then it's Mika Häkkinen and Tom Christensen, the best of the Audis, in fourth place. Confirmation of the current positions with Tomczyk fifth, Abt sixth, Schneider actually in seventh place, David, ahead of Margaritas. Now we can see the start again. So all pretty clear into that first corner, and then up to the Dunlop Bridge, David, which has been reprofiled in the past year.
One or two drivers making pretty good starts there. Matthews Lauda did get a good getaway because he was penultimate on the grid. He gained a few places, but sadly for him, it put him nearer to the accident. And you can see on this replay, Bruno Spengler's very good start. Tom Christensen a little bit tardy away, and he gets mugged by the Mercedes contingent, and that puts Tom Christensen down to 4th place. Green flags wave, back to racing, Andrew.
Yes, indeed, back to racing. Tom Christensen's chances of taking this championship certainly hurt in the previous round. I talked to Dr. Ulrich about the problems they had, and he said he just really hadn't worked out why Tom wasn't fast. He was complaining a lot of understeer, just didn't have the setup quite right, and of course it hurt Tom's championship chances. We ride with Schneider here, and Schneider, determined to try and get that title, is really pushing hard.
He was 16th, he's got a lot of work to do then. Daniel LaRosa is ahead of him as Ben Schneider there turns his way through La Chapelle. And then the cars accelerating their way up towards the next part of this Bugatti circuit. This, of course, is where many of the transporters park themselves and the hospitality units at the 24 hours, but it's a very good, very demanding race circuit in its own right.
It is, David. It has been unkindly called the Le Mans car park circuit, but you heard several of the drivers saying they like it. It is technical. Of course, it doesn't have the great long Mulsanne straight, but it's excellent track for this particular type of DTM machine.
Now, Tom Christensen has got to finish second here to keep his championship hopes alive until the last race of the season, and even then he needs Ben Schneider to miss out on points here. Well, Schneider is still stuck behind Daniel LaRosa, but he's about to try to gain ground. I think LaRosa challenging Susie Stoddart, the two Mercedes there. We're almost side by side there. On the left-hand side of the screen is the race order.
Yeah, John Alesi's mixed up with Susie Stoddart as well. And we go on board with Schneider here trying to get past Jean Alesi in the car with Stern on the back of it. That's the German magazine. And Alesi trying to get past Susie Stoddart. Alesi, of course, in one of the older cars.
And Jean Alesi there going right up towards the pit wall as he came over the start and finish line. We've lost 3 then. There's no Ekstrom, there's no Stifler, there's no Lauda, but it's Bruno Spengler in the lead of the race, still being chased by Jamie Green, then Mika Häkkinen. So it's a 1-2-3 for Mercedes. And we've had Jamie Green up at the sharp end of the field all season, but he hasn't had a win, and he really should have done by now, Andrew.
No, Jamie hasn't had a win yet in the DTM. Other drivers have gone in front of him, have scored wins, like Martin Tomczyk in the last race. And of course, before that, Bruno Spengler getting his pair of victories. And so Jamie, I'm sure, will be back in the DTM for 2007, and surely that victory must come early in the season. Of course, his starts were a little bit tardy when he was off the pole. He's managed to sort that out now. But what about this man, Bernd Schneider, 42 years old, by far the most successful driver in this championship. And he's been written off a number of times, David, certainly a couple of years ago, but there he just gets stuck in again. Everybody at Mercedes has kept faith in him, and he's repaying that in bundles right now.
You dismiss Ben Schneider at your peril, don't you? Because he knows exactly what to do in the DTM. He did have a bit of a pep talk over the winter with Norbert Haug, the Mercedes boss, and it really has spurred him on for this year. Into the pits then, we have the first of the obligatory pit stops being made. And it is Ben Schneider and Timo Scheider who come in together. One Mercedes, one Audi. You're looking at Ben Schneider, who is on his way in 4.9 seconds, and that's a full second quicker than Timo Scheider.
These pit stops are a wonder to behold, aren't they? These are practiced a lot, of course, by the crews back in the workshops, but they are so slick and beautifully timed. But of course, time management is so important in the DTM, and that's what Schneider's so good at. But Christensen running in 4th place here.
It's managing your tyres, I agree, but also in a race like this, particularly where a title is at stake, it's managing the other cars from that manufacturer. And I think as the race wears on, you'll see Mercedes starting to play a little bit with its tactics, maybe to hold up Tom Christensen and see whether that's going to give Ben Schneider a better chance. But they need as many Mercedes as they can up there ahead of Tom Christensen to take points away from him.
Absolutely. Now the pit window, David, doesn't start until the 6th lap, and indeed Schneider came in almost immediately that window was open. So they obviously have a strategy, I think, for a long middle stint here, as Jean Alesi using all the track.
Susie Stoddart not getting out of the way. Tom Christensen dives in though. Tom Christensen heads into the pit lane, and also coming in Pierre Kaffer. It looked like a rather late decision from terrific Tom though there to head for the pit lane, but he's in this time.
He's obviously on a very similar strategy to Schneider. I don't know if the team have decided just to mimic what Mercedes-Benz are doing, but there he is, stopped. And
look at that, 4.1 seconds. That almost defies belief.
Absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's going to help him, of course, because that might, when we have the Mercedes pit stop, just give him a better chance of gaining a place. He was fourth. He wants to try and gain a place if he can on the pit stops, and we'll know whether that's doable when the rest of the Mercedes flotilla makes its first stop. There is Schneider. You're on board with him, but Pierre Kaffer is ahead, so the Audi can hold up the Mercedes here. Strategy just as important, working the other way from Audi towards Mercedes.
Yeah, Pierre Kaffer has had quite a bit of experience in the Le Mans Audi R8. And Pierre Kaffer holding up Bernd Schneider now, and that's his task. Let's see what Schneider can do about the young German, trying to find a way around the Castrol car. You can't miss it in its bright green colour scheme.
Now, Kaffer here needs to hold Schneider up, doesn't he? He knows what's asked of him, he knows what's required, but he's got to try and hold Bernd Schneider up and let Christensen pull away. Now, let's see whether anyone's going to come in this time. You've got the Mercedes of Jamie Green, yes, into the pit lane, and whoa, look at that, locks up. So quickly does he arrive. Fuel goes in, new tyres go on. 4.1 seconds is the best pit stop time we've had, and that in comparison is a bit slow, isn't it? 5.4 seconds for Jamie Green.
Now the big question is whether he can get back on the track in front of Christensen. Still on the rev limiter, and across that line he opens it up, and watch for a silver car coming up the track. There it is! And Christensen, I don't think is going to get past, and indeed just enough by Jamie Green's crew to keep him in third place there.
If Tom's going to make a move, it's got to be now, whilst Jamie Green's getting back up to pace, but he's blocking as they come then down towards La Chapelle, and I don't think Tom Christensen is going to find a way by, and therefore the Mercedes strategy is working, isn't it?
Absolutely. Just the two manufacturers in this series. We understand it will be the same for 2007, David, although of course the group who run this series, as we see a big cut by Tom Christensen there, would love to get a third manufacturer in, and maybe it will come in 2008. There has been talk of that, Alfa Romeo being the possibility.
I wouldn't really complain about that, as you can well imagine. There you've got Tom Christensen, he's on the tail of Jamie Green still, and he's still struggling to find a way by. Spengler leads, Hakkinen second, and then in third is Martin Tomczyk. And a word about Christian Ab going really well in fourth place. Normally we tend to see Christian Ab only when someone is spinning or there's an accident, because he does get involved in far too many muddles for most people's liking. But here, Christian Ab is doing a really good job.
Yeah, Christian Ab, obviously it's contract time as well.
I'm trying to resist.
It's complicated with him, of course, because his family business, of course, runs some of these cars, the leading cars. But Christian Abt has to stand on his own feet as a racing driver, just better known for racing DTM. He did race at Le Mans in the R8 1 year, David.
He didn't really sparkle, did he, though? But this is certainly one of his best performances of the last couple of years, really, in DTM. He's fourth at the moment. Fifth behind him is Alex Margaritas, and then sixth is Fredson, and Ted Bjork up into seventh. Now, I know he's been helped a bit by pit stops, but Ted Bjork has certainly not disgraced himself this weekend.
No, Ted now one of the stars of the Swedish Touring Car Championship. Well, we've seen him race in a Lola very successfully in the past, David, in prototype racing in a 2-litre car, but that was some 5 or 6 years ago.
That's Stefan Mucker. He's in 8th place at the moment, chasing after Bjork. Damage you can see on the front of Stefan Mucker's car. And that, I fear, is going to get worse. Look at the air getting under the bodywork. They're trying to lift it. There is some of that missing bodywork. And Stefan Mucker surely is going to have either that attended to on the pit stop, or even get a black and orange flag, and the scrutineers want him in the pits. Let's see what happens. Jean Alesi looking for a way by, but if the air gets under that bodywork and rips it off, then we could all be in trouble.
Yeah, I think the back of it's also touching the tyre, seeing some blue smoke, as well as those fantastic flames coming. Oh, incident here.
Well, that's how it's happened. That's Stefan Mucker getting involved with Ted Bjork, I think, isn't it?
Yes, that is Ted Bjork.
And there's the replacement bodywork, and there is Stefan Mucker in the pit lane. None of your tank tape here, Andrew. It's a whole new body part.
Yeah, let's see how quick the crew are. Well, this is going to lose him any chance of a good result here today. And what often happens, the mountings also get twisted and broken in these incidents, so putting a new piece of bodywork on is not as simple as it might seem as we go back on board with Bernd Schneider, who's still trying to find his way past Pierre Kaffer.
Kaffer in one of last year's cars. That's a 2005 Audi ahead of a 2006 Mercedes, and Pierre Kaffer is holding up Bernd Schneider. Now, Bernd Schneider needs to get past, but equally he doesn't want to put himself in a position that might compromise his ultimate result here, so very frustrating for Schneider. He's trying to pressure Pierre Kaffer into a mistake. He nips up the inside. They're going to be overlapping almost, coming out of the corner. Now, can Pierre Kaffer stand his ground? He's going to have the line, I think, for the next corner. Bernd Schneider right alongside him in the Mercedes. They get to the braking area, and Pierre Kaffer hangs on in there. This is a fantastic duel.
Yeah, Pierre Kaffer, as we said before, a lot of sports car experience, won the 2004 Sebring 12 hours in the R8, won the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometres, the Silverstone 1,000 kilometres, and a great year in 2004, having previously come out of the Porsche Super Cup. Before that was one of the stars of the German Formula 3 Championship.
And before that, he was a mechanic for the Zakspeed team. So somebody that's been steeped in motor racing, and of course it's an ex-Zakspeed Formula 1 driver, Bernd Schneider, looking for a way past him. The two of them are absolutely nose to tail now.
Well, Pierre Kaffer maybe just making a small mistake there, and I think Schneider's got his way through. A little bit of paint exchange, but oh, look at this.
Take that, says Kaffer. Thank you, says Schneider, I'm coming by. Bernd Schneider at long last goes through, and now he's 13th.
Key moment in the race, David. But Kaffer hasn't given up either. Look, he's coming around the outside, and he dives down the inside, and Kaffer goes back in front of Schneider.
Fantastic racing, this. Pierre Kaffer, though, really on the limit, and Bernd Schneider trying to get a better run coming out of the Dunlop S's. He's going to have a look on the inside as they dive down now towards La Chapelle. Is he going to go through? Yes, he is. Is that it? Has Schneider secured it? I think he has this time.
Well, Pierre Kaffer might be able to have another go back at him, but Bernd Schneider will now make that Mercedes as wide as he can.
And there you had everything that's right about DTM. Great racing, two different manufacturers, an old master and a young gun going absolutely toe-to-toe. Well, the Audi management doesn't like losing a place, but they've lost that place to a man that's en route to winning the championship, it seems. There's a replay of Bernd Schneider powering through on the inside, but he really had to work oh so hard for that.
Under the Dunlop Bridge, down towards the braking area here, and then they peel off right there onto the Bugatti circuit. That is the position where they actually turn away from the main Le Mans circuit. Christian Abt there with the Playboy car. Bernd and Jamie sharing their pit crew. And we're still on board with Bernd Schneider now as he chases Christian Abt and gets it way out of shape.
Bernd Schneider really is making that car dance, isn't he? Right on the back then of Christian Abt Audi. Now, of course, they both made a pit stop, so Abt has dropped down to 12th place. Schneider working his way up the order. He's 13th. A replay here of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, I think, losing out to Jamie Green, who dives up on the inside of him there. The Mercedes just squeezed it by the Audi.
Moves Green up to 4th place.
And Jamie Green, the best of those that have made a pit stop as well, significantly.
Yes, we haven't seen Spengler in yet. We haven't seen Hakkinen in yet.
We're back on board with Bernd Schneider. Ahead is Christian Abt. He's looking for a way past. Well, he found Pierre Kaffer in a 2005 spec Audi, a rather difficult nut to crack. It could well be the same getting past Christian Abt. Heinz-Harald Frentzen there, who's had a pretty good year in DTM. He's looked far more convincing this season than he has in the past. But Christensen making a second stop. That's the first driver to do the second pit stop, Andrew.
Yeah, so they're on an interesting strategy here, and then he'll have a long final run. And of course, a lot of the guys haven't even made their first stop yet.
This might be to try to get him out of the traffic. It was 4.1 seconds last time. They're not trying, that was only 4.5. Alex Margaritas also rejoining. He's just made his first stop of the race. But again, it was another good stop. Not quite as quick as the first one, but another good stop by the Audi team to get Tom Christensen back into the race. He rejoins 11th. The only driver to have made both his pit stops now. And as Andrew says, he can run right to the end.
Quite a lot of gravel on the apex of the corner there. They'll have to watch that. And this gravel is flint-like, David. It's caused a lot of punctures in the past in the 24 hours. There's terrific Tom. Denmark, for a small country, has produced a lot of superb racing drivers. And into the pits now, the overall leader of the race, Bruno Spengler, off the pole position. Fuel going in from that churn. We've seen those churns leave with the car before now, yes. But this is a clean stop.
And for my money, Spengler has been one of the, if not the, driver of the season. He has got on with the job without any of the hype perhaps attached to one or two other drivers. He just put his head down, he's learned, he's proved that he's very quick and is a winner in DTM. And as I say, he's done this without much fuss and without a great deal of hype about him.
Yes, indeed, and he could finish up runner-up in this championship yet. There's that gravel again. And that iconic Dunlop Bridge.
As Frentzen making his first pit stop and will now rejoin the race. So Mika Häkkinen goes into the lead. Mika hasn't had a win this year. It could come today. And look who's up into third place, yet to make a pit stop, John Alesi. Jamie Green coming towards us. Tom Christensen looking for a way through, dives up the inside, forces Jamie Green wide and off the road. Tom Christensen in uncompromising mood there, Andrew.
Yes, indeed, it looks as if it's going to be passed by Frentzen.
Frentzen trying on the outside, Jamie Green just being able to keep that place. But that's very important that Tom Christensen has managed to get himself at long last ahead of Jamie Green, and Green's still on the back foot here and still defending.
Yeah, Frentzen's car in an unusual livery, David, because of certain rules regarding advertising of alcohol in France. And a bit of ball bumping and shoving going on there, and Jamie Green dispatches Frentzen into the gravel.
Might have another look at that. I'm not quite sure whose fault that was, but it's Frentzen that comes off worse, isn't it? That's for sure. But you can understand Jamie being rather frustrated about the way that Tom Christensen took the place away from him. There is Heinz-Harald Frentzen then, down a couple of places. And there is Stefan Mucker rejoining the race. That's his second pit stop that he's just made. Tom Christensen turning his way out of that final corner. He's in 8th overall, as into the pit lane now comes Martin Tomczyk. This his second pit stop, the surviving Red Bull Audi, of course, with the demise early on of Matthew Ekstrom. And that was mighty quick indeed. Back into the race goes Tomczyk.
Yeah, he accelerates up the hill here, and here's that incident again. There's Tom diving down the inside. Green has nowhere to go, rattles it across the gravel, and Frentzen there tucked in behind him as they come out.
Christensen really came out of nowhere. He was quite a long way back, but the speed differential between a car at race pace and one from the pits, and a drive-through penalty for Jamie Green for pushing another car, and that's the incident.
Yes, and I think the stewards there taking the right decision, but it's all fast and furious in this DTM. So Jamie Green takes the penalty, trundles through the pits, and that will drop him down the field.
One good thing about this, Andrew, is that it's instant justice. It's not reviewed at the end of the race, and people always know what the result is. It's not like it all then goes to the stewards at the end and there's an amended result. People know exactly what's going to happen when people cross the line at the end.
Yeah, in the DTM, the stewards usually get it right from my perspective.
Spengler, Häkkinen, Margaritas then at the moment is the way the top three runs. 3 Mercedes then locking out the leading positions at present.
David Green rejoined in 9th place, so that cost him dear. Bruno Spengler, a very long stint, first stint. The second one, I think, will be shorter. Riding again in the Schneider car. Bernd Schneider, based in Monaco.
And now in 4th place overall as Bruno Spengler makes his second stop. But when you consider that Schneider was, what, 16th on lap 1, it's been a superb recovery drive.
Been a fantastic drive, and that's the reason why he's been at Mercedes so long and had all that success.
And Bruno Spengler, somebody with a bright future ahead of him. Tom Christensen, who did lead the championship mid-season, and now looks as though he's going to have to give best to Bernd Schneider this year.
Yeah, if the positions stay the way they are, this title is going to Schneider here at Le Mans with the 1 race remaining in Hockenheim.
Don't forget, though, Schneider has got to make a second pit stop yet.
Yes, he has just seen the car go through with the 722 number on the side, David. That car's got a depiction of the famous Mille Miglia winning Mercedes-Benz that Sterling Moss drove. There's the 722. You can just make out the profile of the wonderful car from the 50s.
Well, that's a car that's had many a different colour scheme this year. It was bedecked with footballs, remember, at Brands Hatch in deference to the World Cup. And Ben Schneider is hunting down Alex Margaritas, carrying that evocative livery. Down this fast straight, down through the gears, third for the first element. Snick it down to second for the second part of the corner, and then back on the power now.
Yeah, Margaritas yet to make his second stop. Here is Jean Alesi visiting the gravel again, and that won't do his tyres any good at all.
But proof, if it were needed, that Jean Alesi is trying hard. There's Heinz-Harald Frentzen running wide. So too Jean Alesi, so too Martin Tomczyk. Hakkinen into the pit, second stop now.
Yeah, Hakkinen's been having a very good run here at Le Mans. Mika Hakkinen has never raced in the Le Mans 24 hours, David. I wonder if, having been here, he might be tempted.
It'd be good to see him, wouldn't it, in that? We've certainly had a number of drivers, once they've retired from Formula One, looking at sports cars as well as DTM.
Jean Alesi at this particular race meeting, quite rude about the 24-hour race, actually.
There's Stefan Mucker just going through, and there a battle in the pit. Jean Alesi and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, ex-Grand Prix drivers both coming in together.
Frentzen gets a fresh set of Dunlops. And you saw a bit of gravel still coming off the back of Alesi's car as he accelerated away after that adventure through the gravel trap.
Now that's Pierre Kaffer going ahead of Frentzen. So a change for 12th place. Kaffer goes ahead of his fellow Audi driver, and on board now with Bernd Schneider. Yet to make a second stop, so has Margaritas ahead of him.
To be absolutely sure of this championship, Schneider needs to move up one more place, David. He's got to get past Margaritas.
Now, it might be that Mercedes management decides to try and do that on the pit stops, Andrew. They might just hold Margaritas a little bit longer than Schneider, maybe. We'll wait and see what is to develop there, whether it's going to be panned out on the track or in the pit lane. Margaritas, I think, coming in this time. Schneider coming in this time.
Yeah, let's see how this all works out. And Schneider dives in. There is Margaritas. Schneider accelerates away.
Not much to call, is it, between them? Oh, look at that! The pit stop time's very, very similar, and that was even closer between the two cars.
It certainly was, and they didn't tell Margaritas to drop in behind Schneider, or if they did, he didn't listen.
So Ben Schneider's still going to have to fight for third place, isn't he?
And look at Jamie Green up in 5th place despite that stop-go penalty. Well, there's two Mercedes-Benz who could get instructions to let Bernd Schneider go by. But Bernd Schneider, fired up the way he is for this race meeting, probably doesn't need any help from the team management.
Well, Tom Christensen is there in third. And Tom needs Schneider to be out of the points. I reckon that Bernd will make up one or two more places before the end here, but we'll see how it all does pan out. But Bruno Spengler is looking pretty good here for what could be a third win of the year, and that would make him have more wins than anybody else. Schneider there in replay rejoining, and there is Margaritas, and Ben Schneider hits the brakes.
Well, it was very nearly collected by him. Obviously, the camera foreshortens it a little bit. Let's see it from the onboard. Watch to your right. It was pretty close.
But it reinforces the point that it's every man for himself in the Mercedes camp at the moment. Martin Tomczyk there turning through, being caught now by Jamie Green. Then this Mercedes battle, Margaritas ahead of Ben Schneider. Margaritas, somebody else that's been impressive this year, Andrew.
Yeah, Margarita's been in a few skirmishes over the season, but coming out of European, the Euro Formula 3 series, and indeed here at Le Mans, the Euro F3 series very nearly decided in the favour of Paul de Resta.
Now, just looking at that classification, Ted Bjork yet to make a second pit stop, so he's running in a rather elevated 10th place at the moment, as Schneider is about to make his move on Margaritas. He's going to go to the inside here. Surely that's going to work. Yes, it does.
Yeah, Schneider moves up a place into the top 6. I think there's quite a bit of chatter on the radio. Back to Bernd Schneider now. Jean Alesi again, just tipping it into the gravel. Well, I'm sure Jean will reflect that this wasn't the best race of his career.
But he's still trying hard, and so too is Bernd Schneider, who's now right on the tail of a rather sideways Jamie Green, and Bernd Schneider's going to go for it, I think, on the inside here, Andrew.
Ah, Green let him go.
Does look like it, doesn't it? He could have put up far more opposition than that, so Bernd Schneider picks up another place now.
So if you can just hold station now, David, the championship will go to Bernd Schneider.
It's going to be harder for him to get past Martin Tomczyk, that is for sure. But here's a replay. Bernd Schneider positions the car on the inside, and Jamie Green gives him plenty of racing room. This is Bernd Schneider's view of it on the inside, and Jamie Green being a good cooperative teammate. He wasn't perhaps quite as cooperative with Mika Häkkinen earlier on in the season, if you cast your minds back. But there, he does the right thing and lets Schneider by. Martin Tomczyk, though, of course, upholding out his honour here, is not going to want Schneider to go past him.
Schneider with his huge career, which started back in karting in 1976. And his first DTM victory coming some 11 years ago now. That season he won 11 races, David.
He's won for Mercedes in DTM and, of course, in the FIA GT Championship. And here, he's not going to win the race, but he is going to win the championship, it seems, with a round still to run. Over the line goes Tomczyk, over the line goes Schneider. They're 4th and 5th. There's only now 0.3 of a second between them. Up front, though, it is still Bruno Spengler in the lead of the race, and it looks as though a third win of the season is going to go his way, with Mika Häkkinen chasing him home for a Mercedes 1-2 now.
Yeah, Bernd had 2 seasons in Formula 1, as you mentioned, back in 1988 and 1989 with Zakspeed. He then moved into sports car racing in a Porsche and first drove for Mercedes in 1991.
And Mercedes has been good for Bernd Schneider's career, but I think Bernd has been pretty good for Mercedes, because whatever he has driven, he's won. He's been a great ambassador for the brand as well. And here, Martin Tomczyk in the Red Bull backed out. He keeps the Vodafone-sponsored Mercedes at bay. The two of them running nose to tail in what's been another lively race in DTM 2006. And I think coming to the Le Mans Bugatti Circuit has been a hit all round.
Absolutely, just the one race remaining, of course, at Hockenheim. There's going to be a huge crowd there to see Schneider crown the champion. And Schneider'd still like to move up a place, but he isn't going to take any risks getting past Tomczyk. Doesn't need to do that. He's going to harry Tomczyk all the way. We're on the last lap now.
Here comes Schneider then, lining himself up on the tail of Martin Tomczyk as they come past the pits. 4th and 5th they are. Tom Christensen ahead of the pair of them. He's set for the podium with the best Audi. And Timo Scheider has gone pretty well here, 8th overall with one of last year's cars.
But it looks like we're going to see another victory from Bruno Spengler as we stay on board with Bernd Schneider. And Schneider still trying to find a way around Martin Tomczyk. Here's the leading pair, though.
And Mika Häkkinen is ideally placed to try and pressure Spengler into a mistake, but it looks as though the young French-Canadian is going to keep the former Formula 1 world champion at bay. Notice how the floppy markers have gone, how the original circuit is rather different from that they're using now, because they're taking a real shortcut at that S's. Early on, those markers were clearly defining the circuit. Now they've gone, they're using far more of the curb and that runoff zone and really straightlining that chicane. But Bruno Spengler is on target for win number 3 in DTM.
And Bruno Spengler takes the checkered flag. A great day for Mercedes-Benz, and we're waiting now for Bernd Schneider to come home the champion of the 2006 DTM. There's Tom Christensen, who put up such a good fight. And here is Schneider still battling to the very end of this. Through the last corner. And Schneider takes the series, takes the title. Brilliant day for him. And you just heard him on the radio there.
Super gefahren. Das AD spricht gleich mit dir. Ich schalte mich jetzt weg. Glückwunsch von uns allen. Mega Rennen wieder. Kompliment.
And thanking the team.
He normally doesn't display much emotion, does he, Ben Schneider?
No.
But you can understand it's come today. Ben Schneider wins DTM in 2006. Bruno Spengler wins the race ahead of Mika Häkkinen.
I was all the time catching Bruno. I was in a situation maybe end of the race to able to overtake, but the team called me in the radio, hey, come on guys, now ease off, you know, it's no point to start racing because the situation this and that. So I was just more or less doing a teamwork in the end and just not making any risk. I could have maybe tried to overtake Bruno, but doesn't make any sense. So, great weekend.
There is the top 10. Bruno Spengler on top of the pile, his third victory of the season. And he was certainly a happy man.
Today I'm really happy of this third victory. It's very nice for me. The team did a great job, and I'm really happy. I have to thank them a lot. And also congratulations to Bernd, champion this year. It's very good for him. Fifth time champion in DTM is great. And me, I can fight for the second place, and I'm second at the moment, so I'm really happy, and I will do my best to finish second this year. It would be great for me.
There is Bruno Spengler, the maple leaf on his crash helmet, and for the third time this season, he kisses the bonnet of his car. But here's the new champion.
I'm very happy, even it doesn't look like that, but I'm so happy to finish with this weekend. You can't be more happy for that, because after having such a bad start and being last and finish fifth this way, the team was brilliant, and we will have a long party tonight.
And there he is celebrating. Not sure about that band, David Addison, but what about Tom Christensen? He gave it his all.
After the fantastic qualifying, being on the front row, I had expected more from the start. A little bit too much wheel spin, but you know, there's a long straight coming up to the first corner, so I slowly got back, and I was even down in fifth. But I had passed Margaritis, came back in fourth. And then we had to change the strategy a bit, and I have to stop short to battle with Green. And there was quite a good moment where I really passed him into turn one. But we ran into traffic being short stopping, and that gave the two front cars more lead.
They're the drivers on the podium. Bruno Spengler celebrating a win for Mercedes. This, of course, the first time that DTM has been to the Le Mans Bugatti Circuit, and it certainly has been a big hit. It's been a great success with the fans, a very big crowd here this weekend to watch the action and to watch Ben Schneider take the title, and also the Audi management happy too.
I think it was obvious that the interest for DTM here in France was bigger than we expected. There have been quite a good crowd of spectators here, and I think they have seen a great race. For us, for Audi, the result was not that great as we expected, but we have to work now for the next race in Hockenheim, the final, and our target has to be to make our fifth win and to position Tom second in the championship, and that's what we work for.
There is the winning Mercedes of Bruno Spengler, and the mastermind behind it all, Norbert Haug.
It was a great day in Le Mans. Bernd was starting only ninth, and he was taking off the track into the gravel trap in the second corner. But he recovered. He was dead last. He was 16th or 17th after one lap. And then he recovered to fifth, which just shows the strategy was fine and his enormous speed. He deserves this title, really. And his teammates made a 1-2, which is remarkable in that field. So Bruno won ahead of Mika. Both were really in a class of their own. And thank you to the team. They did a marvelous job the whole year. And I'm looking forward to the last race in Hockenheim now.
Time then for the Mercedes celebrations. Time to say our goodbyes from Le Mans.
I hope you enjoyed the race. See you in Hockenheim for the final.
Yes, indeed. Highlights then here of the race where the DTM was decided, a new race at Le Mans David Addison, your final thoughts.
Action all the way. Started with a bang, didn't it, going through the first couple of corners with Schneider being forced towards the gravel, then an accident, and we had battles raging on through the field right down to the very last corner as Schneider was still pitching to get fourth away from Martin Tomczyk. A very impressive drive by Schneider, the real mark of the champion, coming through to win the title here, and an excellent drive put in by Bruno Spengler. He's now had more wins this year than anybody else, a third victory of the season going his way.
Yes, indeed, the DTM making a big impact here at Le Mans. One more race to go, but the title is decided in the favour of the Schneider.